Ethiopia is preparing for total war over the Red Sea. I know the word why must be going back and forth in your mind now, along with the question of how important this water is to Ethiopia. Most people believe that Ethiopia has direct access to the Red Sea. The answer is yes, but used to must be used, because that was the case before the year 1993. Do you know what happened in 1993 that led to Ethiopia losing access to the Red Sea, and why Ethiopia might go to war over the water? Follow us as we uncover and tell you all that happened. The Red Sea. The Red Sea is a long, narrow body of water that stretches from Egypt to the Arabian Peninsula. It's like a long river of salt water that goes from Egypt to a place called the Strait of Mandeb, which connects to the Gulf of Aden and the Arabian Sea. The Red Sea separates Egypt, Sudan and Eritrea from Saudi Arabia and Yemen. There's also a part of it called the Gulf of Aqaba that goes up to Israel and Jordan. The water in the Red Sea is very warm and salty. With its connection to the Mediterranean Sea via the Suez Canal, the water is a vital economic artery and is likely to become more so in the coming decades. It is one of the most heavily travelled waterways in the world, carrying traffic between Europe and Asia. In geopolitical terms, it should increasingly be seen as worthy of unified policy attention on its own, perhaps more so than the traditional and broad Middle East focus of American and European policymakers. More than 10% of global trade passes through the Red Sea each year, crossing 2 of the 10 most strategic waterways in the world. The name Red Sea comes from the way the water changes colour. Ethiopia before 1993. Ethiopia is an Eastern African country situated in Ethiopia and modern-day Eritrea. It is one of the oldest countries in the world. Ethiopia, at that time, had direct access to the Red Sea through the Eritrean coastline. How it lost access to the Red Sea. Ethiopia, a landlocked country in the Horn of Africa, was historically connected to the Red Sea through its territory of Eritrea. However, the story of how Ethiopia lost direct access to the Red Sea is a complex one, marked by a series of historical events and disputes. Before 1993, Eritrea was part of Ethiopia, and Ethiopia had a coastline along the Red Sea, providing it with direct access to this crucial body of water. This access was significant for Ethiopia's trade, economic activities and strategic interests. However, this arrangement changed dramatically in 1993 when Eritrea declared its independence from Ethiopia. The road to Eritrea's independence was paved with historical and political complexities. Ethiopia and Eritrea have a long history of interaction and cultural exchange. Still, tensions between the two regions grew, partly due to the differences in governance and their divergent experiences during Italian colonial rule, and later, British administration. Ethiopia, with its centralised government and Emperor Haile Selassie, had ruled Eritrea for decades. When Eritrea was federated with Ethiopia in 1952, it was granted a degree of autonomy. However, this federal arrangement was short-lived, and in 1962, Ethiopia annexed Eritrea as its 14th province. This annexation marked the beginning of a protracted conflict for Eritrean independence. The Eritrean people, who had a distinct identity, culture and language, resisted Ethiopian rule. The Eritrean Liberation Front, the ELF, and the Eritrean People's Liberation Front, the EPLF, emerged as powerful rebel movements determined to achieve self-determination and independence for Eritrea. Over the next 3 decades, Eritrea witnessed a bitter struggle for independence, marked by armed conflicts, human rights abuses, and significant loss of life. This conflict had implications for Ethiopia's access to the Red Sea, as the war further strained the relationship between the two regions. In 1991, as the Ethiopian government was struggling with domestic issues and political change, the EPLF took control of Eritrea. This marked a turning point in the struggle for independence. Eritrea's newfound autonomy and eventual declaration of independence in 1993 were milestones in the region's history. With Eritrea's independence came the loss of direct access to the Red Sea for Ethiopia. The new international border between Ethiopia and Eritrea which was established in the wake of Eritrea's independence, meant that Ethiopia was now landlocked, without any coastline along the Red Sea. This change had significant implications for Ethiopia's economy, as it no longer had direct access to the Eritrean ports, such as Assab and Massawa, which have been essential for the country's import and export activities. The loss of direct access to the Red Sea was not without consequences. Ethiopia had to explore alternative trade routes, such as using the ports of Djibouti, which entailed additional transportation costs and logistical challenges. It also meant that Ethiopia was more dependent on the goodwill and cooperation of its neighbouring countries to ensure efficient trade and access to the sea. For decades, Ethiopia and Eritrea remained estranged, and the border dispute between the two nations led to a protracted and costly war from 1998 to 2000. It was not until 2018 that Ethiopia and Eritrea signed a historic peace agreement, ending decades of hostility and re-establishing diplomatic relations. This peace agreement paved the way for Ethiopia to regain access to Eritrean ports on the Red Sea, symbolising a truce in their relationship and offering hope for improved trade and economic prospects in both countries. Ethiopia's renewed access to the Red Sea through Eritrean ports opened up new possibilities for its landlocked economy. Ethiopia's loss of direct access to the Red Sea was the result of a series of historical events and conflicts, most notably Eritrea's struggle for independence. The consequences of this loss affected Ethiopia's trade and economic activities, making it landlocked and dependent on alternative trade routes. The recent peace agreement between Ethiopia and Eritrea has the potential to reshape the region's dynamics and offer Ethiopia greater access to the Red Sea, thereby impacting its economic future. Ethiopia is going to war over the Red Sea. In July this year, there was credible information that Abiy Ahmed was thinking about starting a war with Eritrea. He sent a big part of his defence force to the Amhara region in Ethiopia. Volcano wrote an article called "No Good Reason for War with Eritrea. Ethiopians should say no to any plan like that." He talked openly about getting to the Red Sea. Normally, this would be something for Eritrea to decide because they're in charge there. But at the same time, he's fighting a harsh war in the Amhara region of Ethiopia, where many regular people have already been killed. According to local reports, much of the fighting in the last few days has been between Fano forces and militia forces who are fighting for the government. Abiy might be keeping his defence force ready for the expected war with Eritrea. Today, I want to talk about water, specifically the water from the Red Sea. The Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed discussed this with his government members in a video from a meeting with his party officials. He asked, "What are our thoughts on this? Is our thinking correct? And is it feasible?" He made it clear that this topic is not just about his ruling party, it's a matter of national importance and concerns the people. Abiy's plans related to the Red Sea and the Amhara region became more evident after the Pretoria Agreement, which was supposed to end the conflict with the Tigray People's Liberation Front, the TPLF. There are speculations that Abiy's desire for war over the Red Sea is influenced by external actors who want a change in Eritrea's leadership. Abiy Ahmed received the Nobel Peace Prize for ending the long-standing tension with Eritrea. The TPLF has been working on a political project involving the Red Sea, while Abiy Ahmed and his Oromia elites have a project for an ethnic Oromo empire that includes access to the sea through the Assab part of the Red Sea. Local news sources recently reported that TPLF war generals are preparing their fighters for war. Interestingly, this news came at a time when the Tigray regional government declared a 3-day national mourning for the many soldiers who lost their lives during the conflict with Abiy Ahmed's government. Ethiopia is not going to war. Ethiopia has no intention of invading another country and will never assert its interests through war, assured its Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed on Thursday, a few days after a speech that raised concerns about Addis Ababa's possible claims to the Red Sea. On October 13th, Mr. Abiy talked on TV, saying that Ethiopia depends on the Red Sea for its existence and needs a port for peace. Ethiopia, with 120 million people, can't reach the Red Sea directly, unlike Eritrea and Djibouti, its neighbours. While he doesn't want to interfere in other countries' affairs, some worry about his speech, especially with tensions with Eritrea. Abiy said Ethiopia has never invaded any country and won't in the future, in a speech for Defence Forces Day in Addis Ababa. Thank you for watching our video. Please hit the subscribe button and like our video. Tell us what you think about whether Ethiopia is going to war over the Red Sea, or if it's going to be a peaceful negotiation, as the Prime Minister said. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications and get notified when we drop another video.